time for a little Ernest antics on Halloween night. Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I'm here with a brand new episode of Halloween Horror Reviews 5. And for the 19th episode, we are going to be reviewing when did this come out? Is it 19? I think 1989. Was it 1989? Yeah. Either way, well, okay, you know what? The final of Touchstone's era of this character. That is, of course, Ernest Scared Stupid. The fourth and final entry of the Touchstone version of Ernest. And this is directed by John Cherry. So, what is the plot of Ernest Scared Stupid? Life could be pretty if there wasn't someone like Ernest P. Worrell on this planet. In this movie, he helps to escape an evil troll out of his grave. But then that went pretty much like helping three kids build this tree house to buy their haunted house from these bullies. They find this tree, and it turns out that's pretty much the grave of the trolls. And that pretty much starts the end of the world on Halloween night. But Ernest wouldn't be Ernest if he wasn't planning on saving all the people of the town. This action doesn't make it any better. Instead, sometimes a lot of Ernest's antics, clumsy antics, often sometimes just go around making everything worse. As we all know. Yeah. So, how was Ernest Scared Stupid made? Well, like the previous few Ernest entries, they were all directed by John Cherry. Initially, he conceived this simple premise, like Ernest trying to stop a bad guy with a mission. So John Cherry would go on to research several bad guys in fiction, pondering who the bad guy would have to be. And he became intrigued with the idea of Ernest fighting trolls, so he decided to make a Halloween-themed Ernest film. It was going to be called Ernest Scared Stiff. When it was announced around 1991, then, actually no, this is 1991, not 1989 or something. It's 1991. So filming took place from May to July 1991 in Nashville, Tennessee. Then, the final title, it was not Ernest Scared Stiff, it would go on to be called Ernest Scared Stupid instead, and it picked that title. So anyway, after Ernest Scared Stupid was shot and marketed, it would go on to be released to the public on October 11th, 1991, and well, because it didn't make that great at the box office, with just about $14 million made back, it ended up marking the final film to be released by Touchstone Pictures and the end of their 4-film deal. There would be more Ernest films, but they'd be direct-to-video, and the next one would be released in November 1993. Now, as for my reaction, me personally, guys, Ernest Scared Stupid would probably have to be my favorite Ernest movie yet. Yes, I think this is easily the best of the Touchstone films, and I felt that, since this was the last one of the Touchstone deal they had with the character, this probably was the best send-off for the Touchstone version of Ernest, and honestly, if this was the last Ernest film they made, I probably would have been happy with that. I'd be fine if they didn't. Honestly, I think they could have just left it alone here and it would have been fine. This honestly felt like a good send-off to Ernest. Right from the credits, the credits I feel like this old vintage monster movie. You could tell the film was going to be hilarious. When you have this old monster movie credits and Ernest appearing throughout the whole montage. And the troll makeup and costumes are well done for an Ernest movie. They do really look like Halloween-themed trolls. And it keeps you entertained all the way through. This is easily, I think, one of the most underrated horror comedies. Let alone, horror and, the family horror comedy in that film category, period. The Ernest films, the Ernest films from Touchstone, they were these little interesting little series because, you never know, where this clumsy handyman, cartoony handyman would often end up. Whether he's, managing a summer camp, whether he has to find a new Santa Claus, whether he ends up in jail, or whether he's now fighting trolls on Halloween night. It would often be random. And this is first, this is not the only time Ernest has been involved in a holiday. There was Ernest Saves Christmas. I reviewed that last year, and that's pretty much where he had to find a new Santa Claus and ended up getting himself an antics on Santa's sleigh up in outer space and around Earth. And it's fitting when you know that since pretty much before that you had him getting framed and ending up in jail and trying to escape jail. Now he has to fight trolls and save Halloween. Right there, it's a great idea because horror and comedy, they do sometimes make a beautiful combination when they're done right, when they're by the right people, anyways. And it makes this entry the funniest. This storyline I really like, and it's unique. It goes into kind of goes into the old folklore horror territory, and it makes this film this perfect fantasy horror. That's something like this you don't really see much of in the genre. This one, it has a great idea, kids being the ones in mortal danger of the trolls, it has the perfect, little, Brothers Grimm lore, souls get collected to strengthen the trolls' powers and take over the world, the opening scene, this opening scene, when one of the kid characters is telling, a werewolf story in school, it really has that folklore Brothers Grimm, tone in the opening scene. Easily. And the music is great. I like the theme song as well. I love the intro. It's got whole little 30s monster movie theme. When we see Ernest acting all scared in the intros, you've seen all sorts of scenes from random horror films. It's pretty funny. Pretty funny and well done. It definitely does well in showing you the tone the movie's going to be. Director John Cherry even keeps the enjoyably silly story moving along at a zippy pace with the Albly crafts, this fun, little Halloween atmosphere. It still has a lighthearted tone throughout, all the other Ernest films. It's acted and zest by a very enthusiastic cast. The late Jim Varney, you always could tell he was having a ball as this character of Ernest and making all kinds of goofy expressions and goofy one-liners and cracks lots of perfect little one-liners. The kids are likable, they're not annoying, and they're very earnest in appearing. The late Eartha Kitt, who y'all know voices Yzma in The Emperor's New Groove, and was Catwoman in the Batman 1960 series with Adam West, delivers this delightfully fire-turned to crazy old lady Hack Moore. Then you have John Cannonhead and Bill Bagger. They're definitely pretty good as this couple of huckster store owners that Ernest goes to for supplies to fight off the trolls. And the trolls in this movie, they are very gnarly, the creations are well done, they have these great grotesque imagination by the Chidoho brothers. So how does Ernest Scared Stupid start off? Well, we start off with a 19th century opening scene, where first we meet this demonic troll Trantor who transforms children into wooden dolls. They feast upon their entry in Briarville, Missouri. The townsfolk then captured him. They sealed him under an oak tree. And Phineas Worrell, one of the village elders, and his ancestor Ernest P. Worrell established this deal. And Trantor would place a curse on the Worrell family and say he can only be released on October 30th, the night before Halloween. As part of the curse, every generation of the Worrells have to get dumber and dumber and dumber, until the dumbest member of the family got foolish enough to release him from his earthly prison. So yeah, that shows you what the whole plot of the film is going to be. Ernest is going to make a big mistake. It's going to set the troll free. Right there. It's going to get himself into trouble like he does in some of all his other films. Does something that often gets him in trouble. That's kind of the main plot of the film. Or gets dragged into some silly shenanigans. It has a much stranger vibe than most of the other Ernest films. Because this one deals with the supernatural. You deal with monsters torturing children, their parents, and even turning them into wooden dolls. And only Ernest is the only one that knows about this and can save them. And no one else has hope. But Ernest is going to save the day, and he's going to save the children, and he's going to save their parents. Of course, because it's an Ernest film. The character of Ernest, he's usually pretty much this perfect little combination of characters like Pee-wee or the Three Stooges. And it's all those old, what can I think of? Hanna-Barbera cartoon characters, or those Jay Ward characters, the Pink Panther character. He's kind of all those with some unique quirks of his own. And production value was very solid because, especially considering this was the last film released with the Touchstone deal, The gadgets, the costumes, and the sets are well made, and they couldn't pick such perfect sets for their very last film they'd be doing with Touchstone. Like, now, yeah, the Ernest humor. The Ernest humor is dumb, but this is the kind of dumb humor that is honest and genuine. The late Jim Varney played Ernest with such a high level of ease, and it makes him so very such an enjoyable protagonist, despite some of his stupid antics he gets himself into. And a lot of the stupid antics he gets himself are because of his clumsiness, and it's actually pretty funny kind of clumsiness. Like, just some incredibly well done effects. Like, these were worked on the Chiodo brothers. Like, these guys were effects people that have done stuff like the Critters films, the first two, A Killer Clowns from Outer Space, another underrated horror flick from the 1980s, and they even did some of the puppeteer work for Team America. But after a little opening scene from the 19th century, we get to the present day, which is 1991. Ernest is pretty much now a sanitation worker now. He's helping a few middle school friends like Kenny Binder, Elizabeth, and Joey. Like when we first meet Ernest, he's working in a garbage truck, and he gets himself like stuck in like the garbage truck as it's like getting activated. He's trying to get out. He sees this doll thing. He takes the batteries out of the remote. He thinks that'll work, and he like takes them out, and he's happy they work. But then the lightning strike connects like both battery and the remote, and then Ernest realizes he's more fucked, and then the garbage truck is going more, or even trying to use a baby doll. Even having the baby doll talk at one point, "Don't do this to me, Ernest. Well, at least I have a family." "Well, tell him I'll send a picture," and then uses the doll to stop him, and then of course he comes out like almost like a crushed garbage cube, and he's friends with these three kids, but one of the kids' dad is a cop. He doesn't want to be friends with Ernest. Like, he acts like this. One of the kids' dads is kind of a dick, and tells him to get in his police car to stop hanging out with Ernest. And meanwhile, these three kids, they build a haunted house, but these bullies come by and destroy it. And so these these three kids, they turn to Ernest to help them build a tree house. And so Ernest is leading to a tree house. He's finding trees. He knocks on one tree that actually looks pretty strong, too much base, and finds one tree that actually looks really badly bent. This one looks fine, but it falls down. There's like too many termites. And then they find the troll one. Pretty much this one that's obviously the troll's grave. So they build it there. They build on the tree that contains a dormant creature. And then, of course, we see Old Lady Hackmore, Eartha Kitt's character. She sees this, and then angrily leaves, and then Ernest falls after her, and he learns the story of Trantor, and idiotically then reports to the kids, and this also causes Ernest to pretty much release the troll. Then as Joey's walking home from the tree house, he hears something through the trees. Joey then walks, but he slips down a muddy hole. At first, Joey thinks Ernest is saving him, but it turns out to be Trantor, who is the one lifting him up, and then turns him into a wooden doll. Ernest then, meanwhile, finds like the police dad we saw in the beginning, the dick one, was Sheriff Cliff Binder. He tries to explain the situation to Binder, but he does not believe him and makes him go home. And he tries telling all the townsfolk, and even they don't believe him. And they don't want to assist him because there's this upcoming Halloween party at the town hall. So Ernest is pretty much forced to mount this one man and one dog, which is his dog Rimshot. Defense-like operation in preparation for the troll's appearance. Then the troll Trantor captures another boy on a skateboard as his second victim. Ernest Scared Stupid. It's kind of both funny and scary, and it's still a family film. At times, it still has scary elements because it's a Halloween-themed movie. Right there. And with the comedy that's also strong in the film, there's so many funny moments here, whether it's the garbage truck bit, or whether it's one bit where Ernest says, "Right, I'm not a quitter," and talking to his dog Rimshot, "Just ask my 4th grade teacher." And it cuts him back to 4th grade when Ernest was writing lines, and his teacher's just bored, he never knew when to quit. And Ernest scratching the board, and the teacher smacks his head. There, and Or just like any of Ernest's antics in any of these films are always funny. Like they never get old. They never did get old. Like Ernest just has that comedy timing that knows when it works. Right there, like, or even like some of his funniest antics, or even the beginning scene with the scary horror film scenes montage with Ernest reacting to them in the very opening scene of the film, the opening credits, and it sets the mood for the film with this original story. This original story that works really well. When you mix like comedy and scary films with the right kind of people, it's risking and does lucky. And this film does a great job of that. It's got the humor, it's got some of the scares though, and it got a bit of the emotion at times. Like, yeah, the acting. Like, yeah, these films also have some corny acting, but this is meant to be a kids film, and plus, all the Ernest films always had corny acting. That was the whole point of the films. The whole point of the films. Their films weren't supposed to be masterpieces. The kid actors also do a good job. Actually, do a good job as these kid characters. Like they're actually likable kids. They're not annoying kids. Ernest is also just as hilarious as he is in his other three Touchstone films. Like, I also love that moment at the end when he's reunited with Rimshot. More on that later. At the end, gets taken down by his kisses. There's even some scenes where like Ernest is like dressing up as like various costumes and various impressions that the late Jim Varney gave out, and like those were also great and very hilarious. Like when he pretty much throws his object and accidentally hits the mayor's car, and like, okay, so our two bullies that demolished that haunted house, Tom and Bobby Tulip, they try to exploit Ernest, and they sell him like, no. Oh wait, no, I screwed up the characters. It's actually the two troll hunters. Never mind that. More on the bully character. I'll get to the bullies later. I screwed up the characters. My bad. These are actually like the owners of that troll hunting store. So they sell them various fake troll traps for over $1,000 plus tax, and one though. So Ernest uses them to capture what he thinks are trolls, but instead it backfired. When he goes to show Binder and the mayor a troll that he's captured, it turns out to be the mayor's sons. Those are the bullies. The mayor's sons are the two bullies that destroyed the haunted house. That's who they are. It backfires when he accidentally captures them, and the mayor's mad and he fires Ernest from his job. But Ernest decides not to be a queer. He got the 4th grade teacher scene, and Ernest, Kenny, and then Elizabeth, they go back to Hackmore, and they learn that only like the heart of a child and a mother's care can defeat the troll. Then Trantor, later on during Halloween night, he then claims Elizabeth as his 3rd victim when he goes into her house while she's resting on her bed, not wanting to go to that Halloween party that's taking place in the film. Kenny and his friend Greg, on the other hand, they're walking, and Trantor uses Elizabeth's voice to lure Kenny away, takes Greg as a 4th victim. And while parents are starting to get upset about their missing children at the Halloween party, but Mayor Murdoch and Sheriff Bider, they still decide to go with the party at the school, and they believe the missing children will be at the school. But then Trantor appears there and pretty much takes the mayor's oldest son as his 5th and final wooden doll. Right there. And so Ernest shows up to fight the troll at the school. And then sure, fight between Trantor and Ernest, though. Trantor turns Ernest's dog Rimshot to a wooden doll before Ernest gets repelled by soft serve ice cream Trantor gets repelled by soft serve ice cream on Ernest's hands. Like, Trantor had thrown Ernest right into the concession stand where a popcorn machine falls on him, and then some soft serve ice cream gets on Ernest's hands, and that's how Trantor gets repelled. And then Kenny, on the other hand, realizes that a mother's care refers to like milk, and realizes troll fighting team to destroy them. Like, yeah. So, like, once again, you're not watching, like, perfect film, or you're not even watching a great film here. There's some obvious flaws that are easy to see, and why it could be some of a struggle to see the appeal in them and stuff, but, like, no. Like, this, though, you're not supposed to be watching some, like, Oscar-worthy masterpiece. You're kind of just meant to be watching this guilty pleasure, like, film that you can still get a lot of enjoyment out of. Like Ernest Scared Stupid and all the other Touchstone Ernest films, like, they show you that you don't need to watch some Oscar masterpiece just to watch a good, funny film. if you can still have some funny elements, like you can actually really work, it could all really work as a film too. It also kind of celebrates the goofy cliches it has and does it in a fun way too. Right there. Like there's something perfectly apt about putting like stupid in a title because that's what kind of Ernest Scared Stupid is. Like it gets a little stupid at times, but it knows it's stupid. And even for like an Ernest film, like the plot is dumb and a little contrived with like a thin plot, but it doesn't matter though. You're just trying to watch Ernest you're kind of there just meant to watch Ernest antics. Right there. And there's some perfect little atmosphere of production that captures the spirit of Halloween really well. Like the special effects capture the spirit of Halloween. The whole school Halloween party captures the spirit of Halloween. And it's actually really great considering the low budget this has. Like Ernest Scared Stupid, even the soundtrack is full of energy and has this unsettling atmosphere, a sense of like nostalgia for the older Halloween days. And the humor still like works, like with the entertaining writing and the gags. Like whenever Ernest is dressed up as those multiple characters, or the fourth grade teacher, or the garbage truck scene, or when Ernest is using the traps and the trolls. The pacing is bright and breezy, it doesn't feel over sluggish and long, and it captures the fun of Halloween and what it was like to be a kid on Halloween night. Right here. And the late Jim Varney, may Jim Varney rest in peace once again, but his portrayal of Ernest has made Ernest immensely very likable. And the character, you really like the character because of Jim Varney's performance. Like, Ernest is like that character a lot of people can relate to. Like, the sort of character that's pretty well-intended bumbler but he has a strong heart. And even, yeah, he finds himself messing up a lot of times, but he still has that heart and he does really care about others. Like, right there. And I really like that Ernest actually really does care about the children in his movies. Right there. And always does anything he can to save the children in this film. Like, whenever it's like, yeah, like an Ernest goes to camp. Most of the children like he was stuck with were delinquents. And he was able to help them reform themselves and like help them get onto a better path. And Ernest goes to camp. And that worked really well. Then Ernest Scared Stupid. He's friends with 3 kids. He's like willing to help them put up a separate haunted house away from bullies in a tree. And then when he finds out that they're troll victims, that he pretty much decides to risk his career to try to go defeat the trolls and go save the kids that were captured by those trolls. Right there. And the late Eartha Kitt was also this alluring, snappy support to the cast as well. The third character. The character was also really enjoyable. Now we get on to the finale. So Trantor goes back to the treehouse and he successfully summons his army of trolls. Ernest unsuccessfully tries to stop them, and then the townspeople had finally now know what Ernest was talking about. They saw all the evidence at the party, so they go to fight the trolls. But the trolls overwhelm them and beat them up. Kenny and his friends, they went to the store, they grab some cartons of milk, and they show up to destroy the trolls with the milk. And then during the fight, though, Trantor escapes beneath a tree, summons the powers of the underworld, and he becomes invincible. Even milk can't destroy him. So then Kenny is then enraged and unsuccessfully tries to transfer, also turns Kenny into a doll. And during the battle, when Ernest knows, milk destroys the trolls, he drinks milk, spits it on a troll even. You get, some other cutaways of, all the multiple Ernest characters playing, dress up and the 4th grade teacher bit. Then, of course, when you get to transfer, and Kenny getting turned into a doll. Ernest then has the other townspeople now backing him up. And they tell him to douse Trantor in milk, but Ernest realizes that milk weakened the troll children, while unconditional love would weaken Trantor himself, like the heart of a child. He then takes Trantor, picks him up, and ironically dances with him while the mob watches, overloading the troll with love, and then kisses the snot-ridden nose. And it's like, yeah! And Trantor explodes. And so Trantor is then destroyed, and Ernest is then finally proclaimed a hero by the townspeople. Sheriff Binder apologizes to his son for being a bit of an asshole and downing him in earnest. Then all the wooden dolls, as well as Rimshot, even get restored, especially those from the early 19th century. And everyone gets reunited with their families, and that's pretty much the end of Ernest Scared Stupid. And that's not just the end of the movie itself. That, guys, is how the Touchstone Ernest really ends. And how the movie, just how, not just how the movie ends, but also the Touchstone era of Ernest ends. And honestly, I think this movie was a perfect way to send off Touchstone's era of the character. Ernest finally got the respect he had long awaited for after 4 movies of his clumsy adventures, whether it was having to manage a summer camp, having to save Christmas by finding a new Santa Claus, having to try to escape jail, or even now having to fight trolls on Halloween night to save an entire town. So this was honestly a nice send-off for Ernest. And a part of me does, and honestly, I do wish this was kind of the last one they made, because the direct-to-video Ernest films, and everything I've heard about them, they're not that great, apparently. I'm just gonna pretend that this one was the last Ernest film, and this is where it all stopped. I think this was a perfect way to send it off. This was a perfect way for Touchstone to end their 4-film deal. Right there. Couldn't have picked a better film to do it. Now, does Ernest Scared Stupid have bad qualities? Well, yeah, but it's not supposed to be flawless. The troll effects can look kind of poor, but it's a low-budget comedy. Right there. And there is kind of one kind of not so well done special effect, but that it can be kind of hilarious, but it's also pretty noticeable though. It's one the garbage truck scene where Ernest's trap obviously manages to escape. The design could have just been done better, and I guess the design of the garbage cube Ernest could have been done, I guess, a little bit better, and now, sorry guys, but I think other than just some editing and effects, Ernest Scared Stupid, it's still a terrific horror comedy film that deserves to be watched by many families in the Halloween season. Which I wish it kind of got more attention, because I think Ernest Scared Stupid is very highly underrated and very funny to watch. It's just a blast family comedy. So in the end, guys, Ernest Scared Stupid, it's totally worth buying for your Halloween family comedy collection, and those that want to see a terrific Ernest story and see the film that sent off the Touchstone Pictures era of the character. Anyways, guys, that's it for my review of Ernest Scared Stupid. If you're wondering how I'm going to rank Ernest Scared Stupid, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you are a fan of the Touchstone Ernest and want to see the send-off that era got and a terrific Halloween family low-budget comedy, then totally watch it by Ernest Scared Stupid for your collection, no doubt. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank Ernest Scared Stupid, I'm going to give Ernest Scared Stupid a 9 out of 10. Alright, there we go, guys. That wraps up Ernest Scared Stupid. You can go back with the other Ernest movies now. Oh, I should have put that there. Oops. Alright, go back with the other Ernest films where you belong. Well, I've reviewed the Touchstone Ernest films, except for Ernest Goes to Jail. I will review that, but not right now. Because that's not a holiday-themed film. Ernest Goes to Camp was a summer-themed film. Ernest Saves Christmas, that was the first Ernest movie I reviewed. That was a Christmas-themed film, so I reviewed that last Christmas. Ernest Scared Stupid is a Halloween film, so I reviewed that now. Ernest Goes to Jail, I can just review any day, because that's a normal film. But a review for Goes to Jail will happen eventually, but maybe next year. Probably around January. Maybe around January I'll review Goes to Jail. But yeah, until then, guys, tell me what you thought of Ernest Scared Stupid in the comments down below. And until then, that'll be it for this episode. Thank you all for watching. If you like this and want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.